specialize in game engines or consoles, or you just develop for like a range of systems
Okay.
when you are designing?
So, what I am specifically at the moment is a gameplay programmer, which is more like a generalist role, right? So I'm what you'd call a C-sharp generalist, and what that means is I simply deal with development or programming on the end level, at the utility level. Basically, I'm not working with engine code, I'm not working with embedded code for any hardware. What I'm working on is actually almost the final software layer. In short, is in most cases the final software layer I'm working on. And so in many ways I'm at the beginning of my career, in the sense of the fact that you will now want to specialize, right, and go into something specific, right? So the work I do right now applies to pretty much any platform. I can build systems for mobile, for desktop, for PC, even for consoles. Because at the level I'm working on, I'm not working directly with the console, program. I'm working on the utility level, on the end user level. So yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. I believe when you started back in the day, right, you said you were building games on your own. Now, I believe you had to go through the creative process of making a game, right?
Yeah.
Now, looking at the creative process of making a game, right, and looking at the fact that now you are not just creating a game on your own, you are now working for an organization. How does it feel knowing that you have to work with other designers or other artists? How do you carry people along, really?
It's actually one of the biggest challenges in game development, and one of the reasons why game development is regarded as one of the hardest engineering fields, because you can't build a game with only engineers. It's not possible. You can build Facebook with basically only engineers. In fact, the first versions of Facebook were built with only engineers. It looked okay. It didn't look too bad before they started all this UI, UX, focusing on all these things. The first version of Google was built with only engineers. The first version of a lot of all these things was built with only engineers. But you can't do that with games. The very first games like Pong and Tetris, right? Some of those were built with only engineers because the visuals were very, very simple. Visuals like a preschooler, a primary school person can draw, and the design of the game too, they were very simple, just very basic stuff. A ball goes back and forth. But then with the games we have now, you think of games like Call of Duty, think of games like God of War, think of all these kinds of games. There's so much going on, right? And each of those things is a field on its own. Uncharted has one of the best orchestral scores in any media. Last of Us, same thing. You have games like Death Stranding or Metal Gear Solid that have one of some of the best story or plots in all of media. And these are not engineering things. These are these are creative fields. We're talking about story writing, music creation, 3D modeling, concept arts, game design, game economics. There are so many things that go into building a game of that magnitude. And as an engineer, your work is to actually glue all these things together. If a musician or if a music creator makes a music score for your game, without the engineer to choose when to play it, how to play it, at what volume to play it, when it goes up, when it goes down, when it becomes angsty, when it becomes mellow, then it's just music. It's not game music. So in summary, it is one of the hardest parts. It does require a lot of learning. It does require you to understand how to communicate technical things in a non-technical way, because you're trying to describe how you're going to build a system with someone that has never written a line of code in their life. They're telling you to do something that is impossible. They're telling you to do something that doesn't make sense from an engineering point of view, and you have to explain and explain, and even the other way too is also a challenge for them, because they're trying to communicate things that are not technical. You know, the way artists and designers think is different from the way engineers think. They think in a more inspirational way, like their thoughts are not as structured. It's based off of just ideas and vibes, that kind of thing. Yeah. On the other hand, engineers operate in a more structured sense. You start from point A, you go to point B, you go to point C. And so when someone of that nature is trying to communicate his ideas to someone of this other nature, there's going to be challenges. But that's essentially what the industry is about. That's why we have managers, that's why we have CEOs, that's why we have chief designers, that's why we have chief engineering managers. Because with experience comes the ability to bring together these different kinds of people to work on one shared goal, to work on one shared vision. And yeah, it can be very interesting to basically, when you have a meeting with an engineer, a music creator, a designer, an artist, an economist, and all of you are talking about one thing from completely different angles. It's actually a very interesting thing to witness.
I actually like to witness such kind of thing, because there are so many moving parts. You have the sound designers, you have someone that has to market the games too for you and all of that. So now, with the experience you've acquired over time, right? If you are to guide someone who wants to start a career in game development, what are the steps you tell them to take?
So, for game development, I'll say two things. Number one is be sure you want to be a game developer. As in, I've seen so many people, because it looks flashy, it looks fun, they think they want to do this, but then they realize how uphill, of a task it is to do the simplest things, and then they get discouraged, right? And this life cycle I'm talking about is not something that happens in 2 days. It can take you 1 year, it can take you 2 years, and then you suddenly realize, this is too much, and then you basically use 2 years on something that you are not going to continue with. It's like time wasted. So I'd say the first thing is be sure you want to be a game developer, and be sure of why you want to be a game developer. Because at the times when it's getting really difficult and you feel like you want to leave it, remembering why you went into it in the first place would be enough to bring you back, or at least it has been enough for me to bring you back. Once you are absolutely certain that this is what you want to do, and you're absolutely certain about why this is what you want to do, the next step I would say is to simply start. And by start, I mean build the most simple thing you can imagine. We have various engines now, game engines, that make things very easy, or at least relatively easy to how difficult they were, in the past 10-15 years ago. And so you pick up one of these engines that make things easy. You have Unity, you have Unreal Engine, you have Godot. There are more of them these days springing up. And build something, download free assets, put something together, give your friends to play, and keep doing this. Keep doing this until two things, until you are sure that this is what you want to continue doing, and until you gain enough confidence um, to offer your skills to someone else. Now, I would actually advise against. Now, don't take anything I say as absolute because, like I've said, I'm not an expert. But for this, from my perspective and from how far I've come, I would advise against trying to build your own game. And the reason I'd advise against that is because that's what everybody wants to do, and nobody can do it. Okay, let me rephrase. Not nobody, but very few, extremely few people can do it. The odds are that you're not one of those people. It takes a lot of experience. You have to be essentially almost a veteran to sit down and make your own game on your own. But everybody has this idea that, oh, what if I build the next Flappy Bird? What if I build this? The market is already flooded with games like that, and you would only be adding to the pile, right? So what I would advise is, even if you want to work on personal projects, even if you want to work on things on your own, drop the idea of I'm going to build a game that is going to go viral. I believe that's the wrong way to approach it, right? Even games that go viral, a lot of the time go viral without intention. The most recent example is Wordle. The person that built Wordle built it for himself and his friends, and they were playing it privately. And it just so happened that one of his friends chose to share it, and then he went, and then he shared it, and then he went, and then it became viral. He wasn't trying to build a viral game because nobody really understands how to build a viral game. You get. So drop that and just build for yourself. Build to enjoy, build to learn, build to go forward in your career, apply for jobs, learn. There's too much to learn. There's a lot to learn. So keep learning, and keep building. Release, right? Release to the public. No matter how shit it is, how crap it is, push it out. Let people play it. Anybody that wants to play, let them play it. If nobody plays it, you play it until you're tired of it, and then go to the next project. And eventually something will happen.